like to welcome everybody to another episode of the Contractors Innovation Podcast, which we recently launched to enable innovative contractors. It seems like in my theory, a lot of contractors are responsible for a lot of advancement in the industry. Our guest today is Mike Lewis and Louise. You said Louise or Lewis?
It doesn't really matter. Most people say Lewis, but it's Louise, really.
Louise, well, I'd like to get that right for you.
Yeah.
But, I probably always called you Lewis.
Yeah, everybody just calls me, most people call me Lewis. So
anyway, Mike, you're looking good.
Thanks. Thank you very much, Martin. Same as you as well.
Healthy. So Mike, I was thinking, maybe introduce yourself in terms of the last maybe 3 positions you've had. Give us a little bit of a rundown on the good, the bad, and the ugly, or let's say things you would say those companies did right, brought innovation. And
all right. Well, my name is Mike, and I met Martin back in 2010, and was working for HCM, which was a great company. That was actually probably the company that I learned the most at. Was at Maple. I mean, at HC MacCon. Martin was ahead of the game by teaching and spending money into training. I remember doing the ACI training, and a lot of the guys were doing the TEI training out in, I think it was Texas, wasn't it? Where were they going for TEI? They were somewhere out that way. But Martin spent a lot of money and invested into the employees, which I loved. That was one of my favorite things about HC MacCon. I used those tools that I learned there by helping, start another shoring company that they're doing very well. Good group of people that are there as well. And I'm very proud that we got that from day one, from right off the ground. And it was a lot of stuff that, like I said, that we learned from HC MacCon and people in the industry like Martin.
Yeah, there was some good times there, and 20 years I took me to do all that before they kicked me out. But it was time for me to go, and I'm pretty happy today. Mike, I don't drink anymore. I don't smoke anymore. I'm boring, but I'm healthy.
You don't smoke the marijuana anymore, Martin.
No,
that kept you. That kept you good. That kept you in the game. That was what made you innovated.
I don't know. You're probably right in some respects, but
oh, I know I was. I was in those deep conversations with you sometimes.
Yeah, as far as sending people around, I think that was always a value to mine the innovation from other contractors. Like if you went on TEI, you would meet other people, right?
Of course, yeah. All those guys always came back, full of stories and, very eager to work with it. Like I just remember the TEI guys; they were very eager and stuff like that. That
was Colorado. Now that I think about it,
what's that?
Was it Colorado?
Colorado, you're right. It was in Colorado.
Yeah.
That's where it was from. And but they're very eager to show everything they had and train new people. So it just kept on paying it forward, and which I think that skill wise, HCM probably has a lot of the skill there, and and a lot of the skill that came from there at other companies that branched off, and it was to do with all the training. It was, like I said, very well done. So yeah, I think you always told me that you have to invest into the salt of the earth, right? Those were your words, not mine. And it was investing into people. And the people that are in the field are the people that are gonna represent your company well. I understand the office has an importance as well, but the field is what gets it done.
Yeah, there's no doubt it's the ability to bring the guys from the field into the office.
That's right.
To make suggestions, right?
Yeah.
We were always welcoming people to, rather than they got to be out in the field, earn an 8 a day, right? Stuff like that.
Oh yeah. So, and you know what? A lot of those engineers that spend time in the field first before they go into the office, they usually turn out to be the best engineers. like the ones that actually seen the practical work every day. I got an opportunity to work with a great engineer, Abdella. And the first time I met Abdella was at Pape Station. He was a field engineer just doing documentations and stuff like that. Do you remember Abdella?
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of time with him. I think I was probably short with him the one time I really had with him. It was kind of near the end. And, I was short with a few people because of what was happening to me. It was like closing in, it was like
Yeah.
blankets. They're trying to smother me.
Well,
But
well, he was a great
he,
guy to work with, and you know what?
he's designer now. Is he a designer?
He's a designer now. He's doing very well, and I worked with him on a few projects, well, like lots of projects actually at Maple. He was almost like an exclusive designer for a while there, and his ability to trust you, and you're like, hey, this is not going to work the way you have your picture drawn out because this, I trust you. Give me the elevations. Give me, he can change it over the phone by trusting us and working together. And those were the guys that really worked well. I worked with a few other engineering companies, not to mention them, but you would tell them over the phone and they're like, well, I got to come out and do a site visit. It's going to take 3 to 5 days, before I'm out there. And, you know, having that engineer that could trust the field guy, and that was Abdella. He was very good. Jason was like that as well. Jason Weck at Macon, I thought he did a great job as well. To
Well, Jason had a lot of practical experience, so he could understand
Yeah,
the end of a hammer himself, right? He was a
that's right.
framer,
He came
put
from the
himself
ground,
through
right?
school.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about.
Jason was a remarkable hire, really. No doubt. He was the gold medalist at Western, which is the top marks. Got his masters, so we hired a lot of masters guys. So in CH Shotcrete, I have a new company. I'll take time to wave the banner. CH Shotcrete. We're going to put the engineering right in the company. So
Yeah.
I'm going to stamp right within the company. That doesn't make any sense to have a separate company. We can have engineers that are good enough to carry their own insurance, or we chip in and do the insurance for them, just like you do insurance on equipment, right? What's the difference? It's all insurance, stuff like that. Mike and I met. And let's talk a little bit about an interesting guy. Mehdi, his name was, right?
Yeah, Betty.
I was going to suggest we try to meet with him again if it's possible. He's so busy, eh?
Yeah, he's very busy, and like I said, he's dealing with some of that stuff from back home, from Iran and stuff. So I didn't really get too deep into it, but I
So you
gave
mean
him his
he's more like
space.
lobbying, like worrying about it, or what do
Yeah,
you?
worrying. He said he was worrying about it, so I gave him his space. He said we'll be in touch soon. He wants to do a couple of projects there. He has a couple of shoring things that he wants to do as well. So
Well, maybe we should try to talk him into doing them in CH Shopkeep.
yeah.
Like I can get equipment through GIP, I believe.
Mhm.
We're putting that deal together, and I can't retire, Mike. I got to keep going.
Well,
So
you're too young, man.
yeah, I am young.
Yeah, you're too young, man. You're too young. You can't retire now. You're just getting started, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. I'm 65, but I feel great, and I didn't take anything that would make that go bad. Whether we're allowed to mention jabs and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
yeah, we won't get into it. But I try to get myself mentally right every day. I think that no drinking really helped me, but and I created 14 patents. So have you seen the thin slab patent?
No, I have not. The insulin. I haven't seen any of the patents, to be honest with you.
I actually have a job, Mike. Actually, in industry. Where do you live in Cambridge?
Yep.
So I have a
I
job in
don't.
Cambridge that I wouldn't mind involving you in. And I need a bobcat with an auger, and I was thinking of buying one.
Oh, we have
A
that.
big piece of equipment. Do you have one of those?
Well, I'm working with my buddy Matt. I met Matt on a shoring site. He was doing the excavation for. We were doing a water treatment plant, and he was the excavation guy. And we hit it off, and we just became really good friends and always kept in contact over the years. He has lots of equipment, and he builds retaining walls, does excavations, all kinds. I think he likes machines, and he just wants to buy toys. So we have been working with him. doing.
smaller guy, but like how many people? Like 5, 10?
He doesn't have no people.
Oh, really? Well,
I'm his first guy. I'm his
oh,
first guy that he actually wanted to work with. He's like, I want to work with you. And he's like, he just goes from job to job. He has excavators, he has dozers and stuff like that. And I, I think, like I said, I really think he just likes equipment, and owns a
so
great big farm.
so the acronym for this patent is FES, which is a slant bar Z MST bar, and then I put clear gravel around it. So
Okay.
you can actually make it so it's uplift, and then that Z bar comes up and hooks onto an MST grid. Have you worked with MST bar?
No, I've never worked with MST bar. Was that the fiberglass bar?
Yeah, the glass bar.
Or the glass bar?
So then the slab would be, let's say, 6 inches of concrete rather than a floating slabs off and thickened edges. I never liked that because it would disturb the subgrade. This way you could pack the gravel 6 inches and then put 6 inches of concrete on top. And
Where's
my
the,
idea was to use chem concrete.
okay, so camp concrete is just the mixture of like what you.
Yeah, it's an admixture. So it's a
It's
world patent.
okay.
Actually, the guys are from Iran, but Iranians are great engineers. Western Sydney University in Australia,
Mhm.
and they came up with this patent, and it took off for them. I'm working some details out with them now because um, they wanted me to invest in a container right away, and I wanted to finish the testing. And right in the middle of the testing, the guy says, "Oh, well, we can't work with you." And I said, "What are you talking about? We're in the middle of testing here. We got 2 more days of testing." It kind of I think Iranians are smart, but maybe not smart unless they're experienced in business.
Okay.
It didn't make any sense. So actually, I plan to resolve it with them. But the guy in LA, I helped him out, and the guy in the US, his name is Jim Kaler. He's a really good guy, at experience in admix and experience in shotcrete. Well, he was on LinkedIn the other day, and he shows these pictures of a shoring wall and says that they have work for the to waterproof wall, right? So I pointed it out to the guy. I said, "Well, by the way, I got a patent on that. That's the FEH to a lock." So what we do there, Mike, is I do a double 5-inch thing with what's called a fang feather joint, which is a 2-to-1 joint, just wood trowel.
Yep.
And I guess you call it float finish, right? So wherever you have a joint, I mean, we kind of did that in single bypass.
Yeah, you just
You just
angled it off to a
basically go
45.
2-to-1.
Yep.
Well, you go from 5
Mhm.
to 10, which would be a natural spray of a nozzle anyway,
Yeah.
and then overlap the joints. But then I put drain board behind it, and the water goes down. So it's built to take out the raft slab in Toronto, because Toronto's clay anyway. And they think the water on top, they make you put this artificial water table on top, which is really not there. I mean, the fill and whatnot, but we're making headway with that, and that's
So where's the slab in Cambridge that you want to do with this
so that's
admixture
for
thing?
a house, but multiple buildings. So the
Okay.
guy's got a house,
Hmm.
and the guy with BMR in Godrich somehow, I'm not going to mention his name because he's working on the side. Murray, the guy who owns Godrich BMR, but he's working on the side anyway. He did. I had another job in Ben Miller, and I designed it that way, and I got it through for permit, and it was very similar. And they ordered bars and stuff, and then the guy, he and his wife just flipped and ended up doing a 4-foot footing. Well, if you do a 4-foot footing, you got to backfill everything, right? And then you got to come up with the slab with the garage, but you can do it all with one slab. And so I'll send you, Mike, I'll email you that. You'll be able to get it right away when you see the picture. And I got Canada Green patent on that. So that means that when Couto put a thing in place where if you have a green patent, something that saves the environment, you go to the top of the list on the reviewers, because sometimes it takes you a year to get reviewed on a patent. That's all it really gives you. So we're filed on that.
So that's the only good thing that Trudeau did, eh?
Yeah, that's probably the thing.
It's one of the good things that he did, eh? He
You
put
didn't, I hope you didn't vote for Mark Carney.
who? Me?
Yeah.
Come on, Martin. You know me better than that, right? You know me better than that.
Something's going on with that guy.
Yeah, something
I,
huge is
I don't
going
know
on.
what's going on with that guy, but we're not doing politics. We're doing
Yeah,
innovation.
yeah, I know. No, let's not get involved. It can go down that rabbit hole another day.
I
So
actually have a
I
question.
think
Oh,
Mike's, it would be good to do that job. And listen, I've got one good guy in my place. Like he's pretty good with tools and stuff like that. And I was going to use him down in Ben Miller. And then when the job flipped to a 4 foot footing, but John's the BMR guy had ordered all the bar. So we're not going to, I told him, well, you can't reuse the bar. You got to buy new bar. So in other words, this owner would, you have a certain size job, Mike. I can't remember, but it's 3,000 square foot house anyway with a
Yeah,
garage. Plus, he has a shop, and he's got 20 acres.
that's
So it'd
nice.
be a good job to introduce you to.
Well,
I'm comfortable if you could do something like that on the side. You can make your own deal with the guy. You know, yeah. So
let's get it done. Like I said, we can do lots of the even prep it. Like the whole prep and excavation of it. If there's any excavation of it, we can
well,
handle
you
the
know
whole
what?
thing.
I'll give you so introduce CH Shotcrete when you do it. We'll
Yep.
see that that's what we're doing. I'll get you some cards, but because I would like to have a relationship with you on CH Shotcrete. So if I get the address, you can go visit the guy.
You give me the
Drop by,
address, you give me the information so I can know what I'm
you're pretty
talking
good
about.
at talking, so
What's that?
you're pretty good at
You
talking.
know what they say that, it's because we didn't have cell phones back in the day, Martin. We had to speak to somebody. Sometimes it was just we were speaking to ourselves,
okay.
a lot different than what's going on now.
Hey,
So
where were you and Dennis working when I first met you guys?
we Dennis and I we were working at it was Coco Paving, which just had become Lafarge a few years before. It was Lafarge a few years before, and then it became Coco Paving.
And you know what? You know
2010.
who owns them now?
Now it GIP.
GIP.
Yeah, GIP. Yeah. So
So I know that the president, the CEO of GIP, Jerry Tobin. I worked with him in the '80s. When I was at Deep, he was at Acre. And they both companies got bought up. I think it's a good situation because I really don't want to buy all the drill rigs. I just want to have a place to get them. We
mhm.
were thinking William Chen is back, by the way.
Nice.
Probably be good for us to meet him.
How did you meet him?
Oh, how did I meet William Chen? Well,
Yeah,
he's the C and H.
yeah, but how did you meet him originally?
Oh, his brother was always into concrete, and his
You,
brother.
Martin, I introduced you to William Chen. I
Oh
brought
well,
him aboard. What are you talking about,
well,
man?
why? How did you do that? He just walked up to you at the yard.
Martin, William lives across the street from me. I worked for his company way back when they first called Chenko Construction. I was still a teenager, and they had the first laser street in Ontario they owned, and I worked for them. And then you said I need a sharp concrete guy. I said, well, I know a guy that is really good with numbers because his background was banking. He ran TD Canada Trust or something
Well, he
like
was
that.
he has an accounting degree,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
because of his brother,
yeah.
he says he's done everything with like used every tool.
Oh,
Like
every tool.
yeah.
His
No,
brother, his brother
I have
Delbert
to
is probably
thank
one
you.
of the
I'll
best concrete
officially
guys.
thank you now, Mike. For
Oh, see, there
I
you go.
just have
That's
a
what I
bad
wanted to hear.
memory. I
That's
just
what I
have a
wanted to
bad
hear.
memory. Yeah, too much pot.
Back then, yeah,
Back then, yeah.
yeah,
But you don't really get it back. You always have a bit of a lousy memory after
yeah,
smoking pot for 30 years. I had a lot of good times though.
yeah.
I
But
grew up in
William's a
the
good dude.
I grew up in the '70s. Yeah, so he just came back from he's 57 and he just had his first kid.
Wow,
So he
he's like
married.
an
He
Al
he did.
Pacino.
He went to the Philippines, like women in the Philippines or whatever that it was. It's got to be a website. So
Yeah,
now he's trying to get her in the country, but he's got a kid. So good
should
for
be
him,
easy.
eh?
They're letting anybody in now these days, man.
Yeah, well, that's probably I
Elbows up.
have no comment about immigrants are fine. I mean, the salt of the earth. We were all
Uh,
immigrants at one time, right?
Absolutely, but you just got to come over here properly and come over here to blend into Canadian culture, not to change it to where you came from. I do. I'm an immigrant. You know that. So
Yeah.
I'm an immigrant. I come from an immigrant family. So
Dante, you an immigrant? Why don't you lean
Uh,
in and ask Mike some questions? It's too
well,
much
well,
pressure to ask them all. We don't
yeah.
have
So I
Brian with us.
I
Go
have
ahead.
so one question. One thing that's been recurring is investing into engineers, right? Like Martin, it seems like you have a focus on investing into the people that are on the job site. What are some of those? Like, what does that look like to someone that's actually working on the ground and stuff like that?
You
about
mean
it.
exposing engineers to practical stuff? Is that what you?
Yeah, yeah. Like,
Well,
what
first
are
of all,
some things like that? That would
I
be
think
like.
we definitely that was started by people in the 80s. We used to, when I was hired in 82 from Western, the first thing you had to do was you went out in the field and got your ass kicked, and they made you work. That was a good thing about deep foundations. What was different about me is I liked it so much I stayed out in the field. So I ended up doing that job for from 82 to 89 and getting involved with jobs like Skydome, but setting them up and whatnot.
Mhm.
And then you end up with getting to know guys like Mike, right? If an engineer won't listen to the tradesman, I've often said, they won't learn, right? A lot of people come out as an engineer, they think, okay, I'm an engineer now. Give me a desk and computer and something.
Mm, yeah,
But yeah, it makes sense, right?
yeah.
That embed the engineering. So now I'm going to go the one step further. In CH Shotcrete, the design engineers are going to be in the company. I don't tend to have a big company, but I can see working across Canada because after I sell my US patents, which looks like that's going to happen this month
Okay.
in Texas, that's all clay, just like Toronto's all clay, but Texas is all clay. So I have a unique geothermal. It's called an FEBTU cell. That's probably my best patent. And then I put a windmill on it, which is FEGO wind. So it's an off grid device, right? And then I have different types of piles. So the FESG pile, G is gravel. And I'm going to send, hey, Dante, I'll copy you. Just we'll teach you stuff. Like
Yeah,
this is
no,
what
I'm,
I'm,
I'm I'm very open to learning. Like,
I mean, if you need to make
you
some money, Mike will take you out in the field and get you to. Have you
You
ever done
probably
any laborers work?
sorry,
Have you done laborers work?
laborers. No construction, no anything like that. I mean, I've done like simple DIY projects around the house and stuff, but nothing like no heavy machinery or no road work or anything like that. So it'd be
Dante, let me tell you a story. We were working for Martin. We were working on it was one of our, I don't know, probably our 10th or something project that we were doing. It was on
mm,
Bloor Street in Toronto for Shockery. We're on the first floor. This guy, we were looking for drivers to drive our Shockery truck with our pump and stuff like that so we can get multiple crews. So this one guy, he was from Cuba.
okay.
He was in Cambridge and he had got his number from my number from somebody and he kept on asking me for a job. Weeks. Come on, hire me, man. I'm a good worker. You know, and so I finally hired him and we were down on the very first floor. I'll never forget. It was like July and we were starting. And I back then we had to the overspray that was coming off the wall, you shoveled it into boxes. The boxes made concrete blocks. So we used the waste to, you know, that's how you sustainability green was. I don't
Mm,
know who came up with the idea to make the blocks and stuff, but it was a great idea. We never really wasted concrete very much. It was I told everybody in the morning, if you work in construction and you work in concrete especially, you don't really take lunches or breaks. What you do is you alternate between guys because you want to keep the flow going, because if you stop the trucks, then it stops, ruins the plant, and sometimes it gets delayed and you never get back on track, and then you're there till like 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. So it was around 11 o'clock and he already had his first break, this guy, and he's like, "Hey man, you guys do this every day?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "This is an easy day, man, right now. You know, like this is July. He's not even worked in like in the middle of January when you have to fight weather and stuff like that. And he's like, "Oh, you know what, man?" He's like, "You don't even have to pay me. I'm gonna go home right now." He's like, "You work people harder than Fidel Castro." It was one of our easy days. It was like, and this was a young guy. He
See,
was
I would never think that, Mike. I always thought you were too easy on the guys.
well, I know, and that's what most of the people said I was easy on them. These guys like, "You work harder than Fidel Castro." I'm like, "Buddy, this is an easy day, man." He left, and I told him, I'm like, "Well, you can get your couple hours that you work and we'll get a check. I'll give it to you in cash or something. It doesn't really matter." And then he's like, "No, I don't even want it. Sorry for bothering you." But
Hey, Dante, you got to make this into a short. That last,
Oh, for sure. I'll
that'll
make a
be a
note of
great
that.
short. You work me like Fidel Castro.
yeah, harder than Fidel Castro.
Mike Louise
Yeah, but
on
you know what,
shotcrete.
Martin, you're right. I was probably, well, they say I was easy on guys. Some people said I was hard on guys, but
Well,
I,
that means you were just right.
yeah.
You know,
So,
and you also worked yourself. I mean, a
oh
lot of supervisors, a lot of supervisors, that's why I like hiring guys like you, because you weren't trying to get away from working.
no,
You were just trying to get ahead, right?
that's right. For right now, like as I'm getting older, I'm turning 50 this year in a few weeks, and I want to start relaxing off the tools and teaching the kids, the young people. Like, you know what I want, like my son is 15 years old. I've been bringing him to work, and we're building a retaining wall in Waterloo, and you know he's just getting in there. It's a different generation. They're not as aggressive as the what we were, but our parents were a lot different than we are. So, but it's important to teach the youth, or else what are you going to have? You're going to have all these young kids with no skills, and I believe that you have to teach the future. And that's one of the things that I liked. You're the one that showed me that about investing into the people. And I want to give back and teach the young kids, like my son's age group, that are they're not going to go to school. Some of them are not going to go to university and stuff
You
like
don't think
that.
your son will go to university?
I'll probably go to college. I don't think I'll go to university.
The hockey is a good reason to go on too, right? You might be able
Yeah.
to get him to play at Conestoga or play at Western. I think it's decent hockey, varsity hockey they call it.
Oh,
I
for
never
sure.
I never played hockey, but I hear your son's pretty good, eh? Is he
Yeah,
on
he's pretty
his
good.
travel team? Travel
Yeah,
team?
he plays for the B team. He's pretty good. He played for the A team last year. He had a bad injury, maybe a little bit set him back. He missed most of the season, but he's back on the ice now, and he has a great coach. And his name is Mike Tansey. Played for the St. Mike's Majors. Played in the OHL, so he knows what it's all about. And
Is
he's
he
been
a
teaching
stocky guy like you? Like
who
your
my
son?
son. No, he's taller than me though, Martin.
Oh, where did he get that from? They
Uh,
say every
my
generation gets taller.
my mom. My mom's
Your
side is
mom was
tall.
tall.
Yeah, and Nicole's side's tall too, right?
Interesting. Genetics.
Yeah.
Probably the shit they put in the food or the
Yeah.
geoengineering. Maybe it's making us grow into monsters.
Well,
I don't
I mine made me grow shorter. I didn't get none of
know.
that
You
stuff.
get the
I didn't get none
you
of
get the
that, man. I'm the
memo.
average height of a 14-year-old, man. I'm just
Is
or
your,
four,
is your
14-year-old
dad
woman.
your dad's short though, right?
My dad's short. My mom was tall. So,
Hey, I'm coming to Cambridge. No, I'm going to Toronto today, and but it might be good for. Okay, I don't really need William to see this job, but I'd like you to see that job in Cambridge. So
that's
I don't
fine.
know if I've got a 3 o'clock in Toronto. Could could work, but if not, I'll come special trip, right?
Okay.
Just to show you that job because I got to get the drawings done anyway. So,
All right.
but you'll like the design. I'll email you the design, okay? The patent.
Okay.
It's got a lot of potential. You can imagine with tie down anchors that don't involve concrete.
Well, I'd like to see it.
Yeah,
It's very cool, especially when you're doing slabs in the back of even like houses, something small, and you can't excavate very much and stuff. If you had some sort of anchor system that you can, that can less manual work with less concrete, you know. So do you still have to excavate the base and put down a gravel base besides your
no,
clear stone?
what I think what you do, Mike, is you'd clear the subgrade, the elevation of the bottom of gravel,
Yeah.
and then you drill the piles and handle the spoil off, right? Like the probably sandy gravel in there.
What kind of drilling? What are you talking about? Like,
Well, it'd be Cambridge, right? So
but I'm talking about like, are we drilling micro piles? Are we drilling helicals?
no, it's an innovative pile. All you'd have to do is a 12-inch hole,
That's
five
it.
5 feet deep,
Oh, with the Bobcat, you were saying. Yeah, that's right.
and then you put the Z bar in. You lean the Z bar over, and then you just pack with a 4x4, 3/4 stone,
Yeah.
and come up and get the elevation so that that upper Z bar ties into the mat,
Nice.
and the whole mat is MSG rebar. So once it drains, it'll drain. The trick is really when you think about it. Okay, how do you do the code insulation, right? Like you got 4-foot insulation or whatever.
Mhm.
But what I said to the guy in Van Miller, I said that's easy. Just overpack the gravel and get all the work done. Pour the slab because you want to support the edge of the slab with a form, right?
Mhm.
And then just cut it and put the insulation in backfill. There's no reason that the insulation has to go on the outside of a 4-foot concrete. It just has to go, 2 feet deep, right? Depending on the depth of frost.
Like around the perimeter of the foundation, the footing,
Yeah.
all the way around. You'd cut it and you'd like excavate and wrap the outside
After
of that.
you overpack the gravel,
Yeah,
you form and pour the slab. All
that's
stuff
right.
you get it.
Mhm.
Before you form and pour the slab, you got to put the gravel piles in.
Yep.
And then you would just pack and form and pour. And then once you're poured, let's say a week later, just cut it vertically because it would cut vertically because you're packing, right? 24-inch diesel plate tamper, you're packing.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to have any soil that's backfilled. It's pretty good design, actually. I think you understand it already.
I do understand it. We do.
I'll send it to you. So let's talk about so you there's other companies you work with, right?
Yeah, like I said, I helped start Maple Site Solutions. I was there from the beginning, which, was a great team of people. We took that
you
company
guys
from,
grew quick. You had good backing, eh?
yeah, had great backing, great guy, Dave Medeiros. He was a great guy, and took the company, and Jason and Chris are doing a fantastic job growing it. So it's a very, very proud. I just, it was time for me to go. I'm not sure if I'm meant for big companies, Martin. When they get big, I think I want to get out,
Well,
so,
particularly when you have an estimator running the show, right?
well,
I'm not saying Chow's not a smart guy,
no,
but he ends up being all about the money, and it's hard to treat the customer the way you can if you're understanding his operational challenges, right?
yeah. It was good. It was all decent and stuff like that. But I was up for something new, and I wanted to spend more time with my kid. I wanted to, my son is very important to me. So is that very much. My family is everything. I Portuguese background, and they mean everything. Like, my nephew Dennis, you've met him, and you've met my sister and stuff like that. Lucy, that raised me, and family is important. So to be away from family was not an option. So
Because you went with ZanCon, right?
I did go with ZanCon. ZanCon is very good, very big. They
They're
were
mostly excavation, but they
they
have
were
breweries.
excavation demolition, right? And they were very big, and they got into the shoring system. But they're growing pretty good, and they have a lot of guys that came from Rumble, which one of the nicest guys, one of the smartest guys I've met in the shoring, that was very calm, very different from the shoring industry, very calm supervisor. His name was Randall. I don't know if you got to meet him. He um, worked for Rumble, Dave Rumble, for years. He was like Dave Rumble's like right hand man type of guy. He was from the East Coast, and what a super guy. And just
So
they didn't
he
have a lot of
probably
work.
So he would have went to York? Like, didn't Rumble get bought by York?
He did go to York. He did go to York, and then he got bought out type of deal. He was the raw. They brought new people in, and he was kind of left out. So, and he went over to ZanCon, and he's there. He's doing a very good job. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of good people in this industry.
So he'd be a good guy to take. That's where my mind goes. You know, let's take him.
Yeah, he's
because he'd be good. You know, because I can see doing 320 type TEI work. It's hard to beat the self-drilling bars. Did they do that work?
TI work? No, I didn't get into that. They did mostly vertical drilling, condos. They were doing mostly condo work. You know, like so, shoring systems for a P4, P5, P3s. You know what I mean? Like parking garages and was basic shoring systems, tiebacks, whalers, soldier piles, case on walls.
Is it the same thing that Powell does with Neil Houghton?
To be honest with you, I don't know anything about Powell. I worked on Powell with one project. It was Dufferin, and they were drilling battered caissons. That's the only.
A very interesting company. You know, they had relationships with the railway, and they had a lot of that work. And they do a lot of sound barrier work. They have relationships with Duracell and those types of people. So but Neil's done a hell of a job because they made him president.
Yeah, I know. I heard that. I heard he's up there.
So Matthew Razzle, I don't know if you heard his name, Matthew Razzle, but he worked at GIP. Then he went with Infrastructure Ontario, and he got a little cheeky on LinkedIn, and they let him go. But you know, anyway, so he goes back. He was going to go back to GIP, but then Powell interviewed him, and he got along really good with Neil, like similar personalities, like really nice guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's doing a pretty good job there. But I connected with him when his LinkedIn thing happened. He sort of bled out on LinkedIn. I made him whatever, and he was a pretty controversial guy. Like he had 25,000 followers, and LinkedIn cut him down to 5,000.
Wow.
So that's the kind of guy I like. Although I'm very careful with my LinkedIn. You know, I don't get
just a heads up. We have 3 minutes left in the meeting.
I'd like to just summarize then, and I'd like to thank Mike for being a guest.
Thank you.
And remind Dante that we got a great short. We got to get proofs that short quicker than.
Oh yeah. I made a note of it, so we're good. I'll send it to you when it's done editing.
Mike, we're gonna probably go to a format. We'd like to have you back. You know what? I'd like to get Primo on here. Like it'd be good to have you and him on here.
Primo.
Yeah. Like he's. What's his name again? The engineer we met.
Oh, Maddie,
and it's GS Primo.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I didn't even. Yeah, we can probably speak to him. I think there's some good people out there for you to interview. Some really good people.
Well, listen. Why don't you? Like? I don't think there's any barrier to having more talking heads. You know, Brian likes the mics, but I think it's easier for people to go in their own element.
Oh, this is pretty cool, man. This is pretty nice. I'm sitting here. I'm about to go right after this, go do some renovations that I'm doing and hang out the kids for a bit before I go home. So this is
don't forget what I offered you and Medi.
Yeah,
you're the best guy to deliver that message because he doesn't return my calls. He's too busy.
Yeah, he doesn't return my calls either very much. He returns my text messages though, so we're still in communication. Yeah.
He's got to think about marketing though. He can't just do tests.
Yeah. So, but let's get going on getting this thing rolling. You know.
Anyway, so. God bless you, Mike.
You as well. Thank you very much, guys. You guys have a great day. Happy Monday.
I love you.
Happy Monday.
Thank you for
joining.
Baby, I need to know